10, 9.
Cigarettes and rocket fuel. Sock it to me,
5,
baby.
4, 3, 2.
We choose to go to the moon.
0. All engines running. Commit.
We choose to go to the moon.
Liftoff. We have liftoff at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All 9 units, go all the way. Everything looks good. Roger. All right, copy.
KHCN-AM 4747, Houston, Texas. News you can use and talk that matters.
Girls, discover if your boyfriend is a man or a mouse. See alien beings, monsters in person, escape from the screen and meet you face to face. Plus, the robot versus the Aztec mummy. Plus, vampires in a coffin. Plus, the hypnoscope weird psychedelic orgy. You live the thrills as if you were there in person. $10,000 free insurance against death by fright. Tonight only, Irvington, Red Bluff Parkway, and Thunderbird.
Today is Sunday, March 23rd, 1969. The Tim's Timepieces time at the tone is 2 p.m. If your timepiece is right only twice a day, get down to Tim's Timepieces in Rice Village. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steve Schaefer. Here's a recap of the week's news you can use. Former President Dwight Eisenhower is in favorable condition and said to be resting comfortably, according to Walter Reed Army Medical Center. Former First Lady Mamie Eisenhower has, however, confided to friends that she lives, quote, from day to day, from hour to hour, unquote. James Earl Ray's new attorney, J.B. Stoner, who has a long association with the Ku Klux Klan, says that even though his client recently admitted to killing the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he has information that convinces him Ray did not assassinate the civil rights leader. Ray's former attorney, Percy Foreman of Houston, said he had advised his client to plead guilty to King's slaying to avoid being executed, a possibility in Tennessee had his case gone to trial. Ray was sentenced to a 99-year prison term. As a nationwide Viet Cong offensive stretched into its third week, with 15 Allied bases and towns near Saigon shelled on Saturday night, the total number of U.S. deaths in the war in Vietnam passed 33,000. In 2 weeks, if the rate of casualties continues, more Americans will have died in Vietnam than in the Korean War. 47 Americans were among the 155 people killed as the result of a Venezuelan airliner crash that is the worst in aviation history. The airplane, bound from Maracaibo to Miami, hit 2 power poles shortly after takeoff before crashing in a park in La Trinidad, killing all 84 passengers on board, in addition to 71 people on the ground. Red Adair of Houston added to his burgeoning reputation as the nation's foremost oil well firefighter when on Wednesday he and his Houston crew were able to cap a leaking well in the Gulf of Mexico. The well, operated by Mobil Oil Corporation, spewed an estimated 100,000 gallons of crude into the water off the coast of Louisiana. Shrimpers are worried about possible effects. According to a Department of Labor report, for Americans of average income, Houston is the second cheapest place to live among the nation's 39 largest urban areas, with only Austin less expensive. For a theoretical family of 4, the average annual cost of living nationwide is $9,076 compared to $8,301 in Houston. Honolulu has the highest cost of living, with New York first among mainland cities. Wanting Rusty Staub back in an Astros uniform, team owner Roy Hoffines plans to sue Major League Baseball in civil court for the outfielder's return. The Astros say the trade that sent Staub to the expansion Montreal Expos for first baseman Don Clendenon should be voided in the wake of Clendenon's retirement announcement, but Commissioner Bowie Kuhn ruled this past week that Staub will remain an Expo. Finally, there are no more Beatle bachelors. A week after Paul McCartney wed Linda Eastman, John Lennon and Yoko Ono were married Thursday at the British Consulate Office at Gibraltar, a British colony near Spain. Coming up next, Alex Stuckey and Andrew Dansby will get you caught up on the week's space news. For KHCN, I'm Steve Schaefer.
Estás escuchando a KHCN-AM 4747 Houston, Texas. Las últimas noticias del día.
Welcome back, folks, to Space Talk Sunday with Alex and Andy. It's great to see you again, Andy.
You too, Alex. Hello, folks.
On the face of it, things are in a lull here at MSC. But behind the scenes, out of sight, the NASA machinery is whirling at top speed. The Apollo 9 team has had a whole weekend to rest up, and they're back at it, of course.
There's plenty of other news going on in the world. Terrible about that DC-9 in Maracaibo, Venezuela, on Monday. The worst airline disaster in history in terms of deaths. 150 dead in the plane and on the ground. 47 Americans. Later in the week, there were hints that it might have been sabotaged.
Hard to say at this point. Hate to jump to conclusions. My heart goes out to them. We really hate to hear about accidents around here.
Yes, Alex. One of the Monday papers had a couple great shots from the Apollo 9 flight. Spider made the front page. David Scott snapped the photo. Quick turnaround on the photos. Those guys shot a lot of film. Thanks to NASA for letting us have a look.
We're finding out all we can about the Earth observation photos they took, and we'll report back to you folks about what we learn as soon as we can. They aren't saying much just yet.
There was another shot of them inside, page 3, I think. It's a photo of Scott by Schweikert during the space stand. Earth is huge in the background. Shows the Mississippi River Valley, plain as you please.
It just seems so impossible. The whole thing seemed impossible just a few years ago. But by golly, NASA's making it happen. Those Reds got to be looking over their shoulders now.
We're going to learn a lot more about Mission Impossible soon.
Bum, 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 bum.
They're finalizing the Apollo 10 timetable and mission objectives now. We'll bring you that ASAP. Seems like a good time to remind the folks, so many newcomers these days, how the Manned Spacecraft Center came to be here in good old Houston, don't you think?
Great idea. That was before my time here, but you know it well, yes?
I covered it all as it played out. Saw the very first pieces of foundation being laid out there in Clear Lake. It was quite the sight to see.
Didn't the land belong to Rice University?
That's right, Alex. Humble Oil and Refining Company donated the pasture land to Rice with the understanding that it would be used for a federal research installation of sorts. Rice tried to bring a few facilities to the area before NASA came along. First, they went after a nuclear facility, but that wasn't such a great idea because of the geology, the way the ground shifts and moves. Then they tried for a marine geology installation, but, well, that didn't make much sense either. NASA seemed to stick.
Hard to believe all that land out there used to be just open prairie, or pasture.
Yes, indeed.
Wasn't there some political wheeling and dealing that went on out there?
Oh yes, Alex, but there's more to it than that. We've got to take a break, then we'll get into it.
You're listening to KHCN-AM, 4747, Houston, Texas. News you can use and talk that matters.
For just $1, you can build your own Apollo lunar module with trial membership in the Science program. You get America's moon landing craft, complete with 2 lunar astronauts in full space gear, detachable 2-stage ascent-descent flight modules, retractable landing assembly, radio and radar antenna, official NASA emblems, more than 30 precision parts in all. It's a scale model. The real one is more than 23 feet tall. This generous offer is made to introduce you to the famous Science program, an exciting new club for young men eager to explore the mystery and adventure of science. To submit your application for membership in the Science program, send your name, address, and a parent's signature if you're under 18, plus $1 to help cover shipping to Science Program, Department 93, Garden City, New York. We will rush you your introductory package. Then we'll send you a monthly science kit for which you will be billed only $1 plus handling. Each month, explore medicine, photography, electronics, crime detection, archaeology, and much more.
Okay, Andy, what's the scoop on how the Manned Spacecraft Center came to be here in Houston?
You weren't wrong about the political deals that went down to get it here. Our Congressman, Albert Thomas, was instrumental in bringing the shiny new National Aeronautics and Space Administration to town. You'll remember that Thomas was chairman of the House Appropriations Subcommittee that oversees NASA's budget.
Fun fact, he also was college roommates with George R. Brown.
That's right, Alex. To top it all, he was also college roommates with Brown, who, you know, was chairman of the Rice Board of Trustees and one of Mr. Johnson's most important political financial backers. He worked hard to bring the MSC to Clear Lake, and we here in Houston owe Thomas a great debt of gratitude.
So, is that really all there is to the story? Were politics truly the only driving factor here?
Well, no, Alex, there's always more to the story. NASA wanted to move the Manned Spaceflight Center out of Langley. That's in Virginia. They started looking at sites all across the country. They narrowed it down to 23, with Houston included. They also were looking at sites in Florida, Jacksonville, and Tampa, also Baton Rouge, Shreveport, San Diego, and San Francisco, and Texas too, Corpus Christi, Victoria.
And they chose Houston.
Yep, we fit most of the criteria they were looking for. Water transportation, moderate climate, close proximity to research institutions, and strong electric and water supplies.
I'm not sure I'd call this weather moderate, Andy. Have you spent much time outside in the summer?
Indeed, I have, but we don't have snow.
Well, my sources tell me that NASA employees were not happy with the choice because Texas was considered a pretty inhospitable place.
I hadn't heard that.
When the site was officially designated the home of human spaceflight in September 1961, officials came to Houston. They described the city as humid and heavy with the odor of the Houston Channel and industries blowing downwind from petroleum and chemical facilities and the paper mill in the general area.
Interesting. I'm sure it didn't help that Hurricane Carla had just blown through.
Hot, humid, smelly, and in bad need of a cleanup after Carla. But President Kennedy was sure impressed by the site when he came to town. Here's a bit of that famous speech at Rice in September 1962.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
We're going to take another short break, but when we come back, we'll talk more about what NASA has meant to Houston.
Be at Sam Houston Coliseum, downtown Houston, tonight, 7:30 p.m., when your Houston Apollos face off against their Central Hockey League rivals, the Dallas Blackhawks. Fast, exciting pro hockey action. See the future stars of the NHL Montreal Canadiens and the Chicago Blackhawks up close right here in Houston. General admission, $1.50. Reserve seats, $2.50. Box seats, just $3.50. Bring the family. Kids 16 and under get $1 off. Tickets on sale at Foley's, the Coliseum box office, and the Astrodome. Next home game, Tuesday against the Fort Worth Wings.
Welcome back, y'all. We've been talking about how NASA came to make Houston its home of human spaceflight. While NASA folks weren't thrilled about coming to the Lone Star State, Houston sure was excited to welcome them.
That's right, Alex. We threw the Mercury astronauts a parade and a big barbecue in true Texas style. And the $60 million facility is nothing to laugh at.
I think you mean sneeze at. Hot, humid, smelly, and the pollen. Everything starts to look a little green this time of year. It's killing me. I can't stop sneezing.
And you know, Clear Lake has really grown since NASA sprouted out of the ground. Used to be a small town, 6,000 people. Now the population has skyrocketed to 45,000 people. Real estate experts believe that $1 billion in private funds have been committed to the area. That's billion with a B.
Helps that the average salary at MSC is $8,000. The total payroll out there is about $17 million. $8,000. I dream of money like that.
Scientists and engineers, Alex. You shoulda, if you coulda, gone to MIT.
I'm thinking about changing careers. Before we get to Space City Social, we're going to play a little more of Mr. Kennedy's inspirational speech that set all of this into motion. I can't top JFK. So first, Mr. Kennedy and then Miss Amber. So don't you go away. We'll see you next week. God bless.
But if I were to say, my fellow citizens, that we shall send to the moon 240,000 miles away from the control station in Houston, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, the length of this football field, made of new metal alloys, some of which have not yet been invented, capable of standing heat and stresses several times more than have ever been experienced, fitted together with a precision better than the finest watch, carrying all the equipment needed for propulsion, guidance, control, communications, food, and survival, on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth, re-entering the atmosphere at speeds of over 25,000 miles per hour, causing heat about half that on the temperature of the sun, almost as hot as it is here today, and do all this, and do it right, and do it first, Before this decade is out, then we must be bold.
Easter time is portrait time. Get a beautiful, natural color portrait at Studer's for a special Easter gift price, $3.95. That's more than half off. Studer's also has Easter photo cards. Pack of 12, $2.19. When a camera clicks, think of Studer's. Studer's has 10 convenient locations all around Houston.
You are listening to KHCN-AM 4747, Houston, Texas. News you can use and talk that matters.
This is Miss Amber, and y'all, it's time for Space City Social. In hot romance news, Alexander Onassis, son of Aristotle Onassis, you know, the one who married Jackie Kennedy, is dating model Fiona Thyssen. She's English, in her 30s, and a divorcee. This should be interesting. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, widow of the late Dr. Martin Luther King, made history when she returned to London this week. In 1964, her husband famously stopped in the UK while en route to Norway to collect his Nobel Peace Prize. He delivered his The Three Dimensions of a Complete Life sermon before 4,000 people at St. Paul's Cathedral. And that's where a standing room only crowd greeted Mrs. King. She chose a biblical passage from Luke chapter 4. In Iowa, Senator Minette Dederer is causing quite the political stir. Abortion, she says, is a decision that should be made between a woman and her doctor, not the law. A constituent wrote, "You are a murderer," in a letter to the blonde senator. Listeners, what's your take on this controversial topic? Just between us, of course. And on a less divisive note, a former president of the Houston Bachelors Club shed his single status in the Alaskan wilderness. Dave Bruce Jr., son of former UH President Lieutenant General Bruce, wed Rita Brisky of Windsor in an igloo decked with seal and caribou skins. They reportedly closed the marital deal with an Eskimo kiss. Today is Palm Sunday, but it's not too late to make sure your little ones have the perfect outfit for your Easter celebration. Vogue for Children specializes in Easter egg hunting ensembles. Scoop one up at specialty stores around town. I'm Miss Amber. Let's talk next week.
You've been listening to KHCN-AM. We thank you for your kindness. We hope you enjoy your Sunday afternoons with Alex, Andy, and the rest of the Space Talk crew.
This is Steve Schaefer with your Sunday afternoon sports scoreboard. If your timepiece is right only twice a day, get down to Tim's Timepieces in Rice Village. The Tim's Timepieces time at the tone is...
Need more junk in your life, space nerd? Sign up for the Space Junk newsletter at HoustonChronicle.com/spacejunk. Roger that.
Houston, we have a correction. As reported on the Twitter by @Juby123, the Texas Cyclone roller coaster at Houston's much-loved Astroworld theme park that we mentioned last week opened in 1976. We truly regret the boneheaded error, and we welcome the feedback. Tweet at us at @Sigs_rocketfuel. Want to know more about Apollo and the moon landing? The Houston Chronicle is on it, man. Mission Moon is a look back at how NASA shaped the world and Houston. Get all of the special features at HoustonChronicle.com/missionmoon. Cigarettes and rocket fuel is just one of those special features. New episodes drop Thursdays on iTunes, Overcast, Spotify, wherever you're listening now. Shout out to our friends who took the time to write an iTunes review. Cats everywhere. Kyle from Princeton, E. Brown 147, Charles from Georgia, Friend 2005, OG Tutor Donna, and R. Sloan E? What's up with the extra E, man? We appreciate all those stars. As you know, Alex Stuckey is Alex, Andrew Dansby is Andy, Steve Schaefer is the newsman, Amber Elliott is Miss Amber. There is not now, and never has been, a Tim's Timepieces store in Rice Village. The commercials are mostly audio adaptations of real print ads from old newspaper pages. Graphic artist Ken Ellis performs most of the commercials because, well, he was born to do this. Leela Merrill wrangles HoustonChronicle.com/Apollo podcast. Check out the old print ads. Our researcher is Joyce Lee. Scott Kingsley is the creator and producer. Staff members are bribed each week with cigarettes and rocket fuel stickers to create KHCN-AM 4747 station IDs. This week, our station IDs are voiced by data journalist and web dev Jordan Rubio, executive assistant to the editor Elizabeth Hoodwill, and staff photographer Steve Gonzalez. If you would like stickers to share with your friends, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Cigarettes and Rocket Fuel, Houston Chronicle, 4747 Southwest Freeway, Houston, Texas, 77027, while supplies last. Cigarettes and Rocket Fuel is a history podcast. We do not intend to glamorize the use of cigarettes any more than we condone the sexism and racism that existed in society and in newspaper pages in 1969. We hope cigarettes, sexism, and racism all become history one day. Our theme song, Crayola Girl, was created by Farrell Gibbs and produced by Brent Busby. I'm Nancy Sarnoff. No, wait, she's out sick. I'm Rachel Gleason. I work to keep subscribers happy by telling them all the cool stuff we do at HoustonChronicle.com. Thanks for listening to Cigarettes and Rocket Fuel. Until next week, y'all, peace and love.